Fashion is the way of dressing up the soul and personifying really what the character is and who you are. And I think there are so many mediums and expressions of that from actual culture and the way that culture dresses. I like to express myself in a way that I don't see in an everyday life. And I think that's kind of my expression of fashion. My name is Derron Cherry, founder of HouseovBeeombi. I chose to become a fashion designer primarily because I think of our lack of resources. We come from, I think, a vain society, and not many people want to admit that. And I think the way that you're depicted is the way that you're perceived. And because we were less fortunate, it didn't speak to who my soul was. And so I knew that if I had a skill to change it, then I had an opportunity to change, I think, the way that people saw me, and that would allow them to see me for myself. Most of my influences, I think, do stem from my mom, who my mother, my grandmother, my great-grandmother were all seamstresses, and so I was always exposed to fashion of some sort. Going to work with my mom, which I hated. I hated going to work with my mom. But it taught me how to use the machine, and here I am 6, 7 years old on an industrial machine that I shouldn't even be playing on to begin with. But I think seeing her drive and her sort of entrepreneurship outside of a normal 9-to-5 kind of inspired me in a way to think unconventionally first, and then to even think about fashion in being a actual career for me. Gianni Versace was the first, and that was the first man that I know to really make clothes in a way that I would almost make clothes. It was over the top, it was very avant-garde. And then Alexander McQueen, who for me kind of created a lane to show me that it was okay to be myself as a designer, being dark, my aesthetic and everything else. And so from then, it's so odd that this was his inspiration too, because Isabel Blow, who is in London, and she is such a socialite in fashion and everything else. And so just seeing their eclectic style and their self-expression almost influenced me to be myself in my own lane of creativity and fashion. My design process starts more so with my source of inspiration, and I always source my inspiration from society. I think I'm inspired by rejection. I'm inspired by obscurities. I'm inspired by what's not supposed to be, and I like to challenge that. I think I'm a political designer. A lot of my work comes from a source of what I'm not able to verbally say, and it's only okay to express that in an artistic view, so I start with that. A lot of my work is sourced from a center of darkness, and it's so opposite to my actual personality, and I think that is the way that I'm actually able to channel that. It's a feeling, it's a process that's evoked with each time you get at that sewing machine, or each time you're sketching and you're creating this piece that you're now going to share with the world. As vulnerable as it is, it's still a feeling that goes into it, so you have to be mindful of the energy as you're creating it. HouseovBeeombi, it really just stems from a nickname. When I was about 2 or 3, and I'm not sure why I loved it as much as I did, but I loved bologna. And I could not pronounce bologna, so apparently 2 years old, I used to frequently ask for Beombi. And Beombi became a nickname that kind of followed me, and today still my family calls me Beombi. I think really understanding that I had a lack of resources, but I had a gift and I had this talent. I needed something that was going to be authentic, original to me, and still kind of fancy, because I felt like my clothes were fancy. It was a little bougetto. So I really titled it HouseovBeeombi, and people honestly think that this is some French name that I came up with because house, but I was really just sewing in the crib, so I had no option, and it was this is HouseovBeeombi. And still today I'm sewing in my house, celebrities, whatever, I'm still in my house, and it's still just HouseovBeeombi. So that's how the name originated. I designed for that man who is very out of the box, but I also designed for that woman who is I'm very much here. Yeah, she pushes the envelope. Yeah, she's daring, she's definitely dark. I definitely designed for the dark woman, and not black, but literally dark aesthetic and culture. Starting on one of my first major movies, which was Selma, getting to work with Oprah Winfrey herself, and Singer Ledisi, and Tessa Thompson from 4 Color Girls, and Common, and all these amazing people that I grew up watching and listening to, and having my mother watch on a regular basis, it was beyond surreal to be in the presence of these people, let alone getting to actually make garments for these people, for projects that, I mean, will become a part of our history forever. Working with Tyler Perry as his head tailor has also been a phenomenal experience, getting to make so many actual costumes for Medea, and just costumes for all of the cast members itself, and just getting to make those connections. The artist has to be the entrepreneur, and I think just like after the child leaves the womb and he's 18 and he's 21 and they kind of have to fend on their own, I think it's the same concept for fashion. Nobody is going to create a lane for you. Nobody is going to open a door for you. I just sewed. I just sewed and I kept sewing and I didn't give up. And so it created like all these phenomenal experiences. Things can happen out of mere possibility. It doesn't matter what you don't have. It's only about the desire that you have to actually make it happen.